Let me tell you about the time when I found myself taking 1,000 pictures of myself butt naked in my friend's bathtub. However, before we start, I'm going to say some words, and with the help of technology, I'm going to pair each of the words with the photo. What I want you to do is to pay attention to the words I say and the images you'll see. And I want you to ask yourself if you have ever felt in this way before. Ready? Overwhelmed, anxious, hopeless, trapped, nightmarish, suffocating, drowning, and exhausted. For most folks that face mental health issues, these images might represent how they constantly feel. For others, they may represent the day-to-day struggles. And for some, they're just images. Everybody gets the blues at some point or the other. This is how they might feel when something bad happens or when they see art like this. However, for those of us with depression, this is how we always feel. At least for me, this is how I felt every single day back then, and how I felt for a very, very long time. Over the course of my life, I have dealt with something that doctors call depression. This mental health disorder has cost me countless friendships and important parts of my life. It has affected me in many ways, from my eating and sleeping patterns to my interactions with my family and friends. I didn't know I had it until my junior year of high school. It started out as me just feeling sad out of the blue. Then it gradually started to suck up my energy. I would constantly feel tired and irritable. I didn't want to do anything, not even be in company of others. There were many times where I would isolate myself in my room and cry for hours without reason or end. I even stopped enjoying the things I used to love. When anxiety came, my friends started leaving. That constant overthinking that drives my thoughts out of control made me push friends and loved ones away to the point of complete loneliness. I was reaching my rock bottom. Suddenly, I would be thinking about suicide or self-harm while having lunch or reading a book. I felt that I needed to reach out to somebody before I killed myself. It's terrible. People fail to realize that depression is not an emotion or just a feeling. For me, depression is everything that holds me down. Slowly has consumed and extracted the happiness away from me and from everything I love. When I told my friends I had depression, there was an awkward and uncomfortable silence. When I told my parents, they went into denial. They said that it wasn't a real issue and that everything was in my head. Depression became a taboo in my life. I didn't want anybody to judge me, to feel sorry for me or pity me. I didn't want anybody to treat me differently because of what I was going through. So, I thought I could fight it alone. I was very wrong. Things were beginning to get out of control. My mind was constantly shifting and turning into my inner demons, torturing me and telling me to do things I didn't want to do. It was haunting me like the Furies in the Eumenides. I felt that I needed to reach out to somebody before I killed myself. I wanted to scream and shout. It was as though there was a pressure cooker inside of my head. Eventually, either the pressure would be released somehow, or it kept building up until it would explode. Looking back, I had the wrong approach. I wanted somebody else to clean up the mess my mind had made. So, I thought it would be a good idea to go to therapy. I quit after 2 sessions. Now that I think about it, I know I wasn't ready to face my issues in that way. It is different with everybody, I just really didn't know that. So I felt like crap. It launched my overthinking into space, and my mind started plotting multiple reasons why I will never get the help I needed. I felt worthless. In the midst of my confusion and perplexity, I found something beautiful in my depression. something that was intrinsically part of me, but it wasn't me. It had a face like me, but it didn't smile. It had company, but it felt alone. It was as finding somebody else living inside of my head, somebody without a voice or movement, a simple cloud of darkness that emanated sadness and nervousness whenever I was. I remember feeling that there wasn't enough room for me and this other me inside of my head. I was asphyxiating myself. I felt that I needed to open the door to let the smoke rise and to clean the air. That's when the art of depression was born. I got a journal and began writing simple words trying to describe how I was feeling. At first, it was very difficult. I would find myself writing sentences and even paragraphs. It took me a while to narrow it down to simple words. However, once I was able to do so, I wrote for days without end. I took my journal with me everywhere, during classes, during work, while eating, and even while sitting on the toilet. At the end of my writing period, I went back and looked at which words repeated themselves the most. At first, I didn't know what I wanted to do with my words. Then it clicked. Why not take these words and make pictures out of them? Like a personification of my inner demons. I mean, if therapy wasn't for me, could photography help me? I thought to give it a try. In the same journal, I began sketching countless very dark and haunting drawings. Then out of the horror that I found within me, I started to notice things that I knew represented exactly how I felt, but I simply couldn't put into words. After just over a month of writing, I thought I was ready to take my words into action, to literally extract my inner self out of its mental prison and meet it face on. The week that I decided to take the self-portraits was very strange. I had a big idea of what themes I wanted to depict in my pictures, but I had no clue how I was going to do so. I mean, I'm a photographer, and while I have a lot of experience doing photo shoots, I didn't know anything about conceptual projects like the one I was undertaking. So I did what everybody in my position would have done. I went to the supermarket. In there, I looked for items that I could use as props for my pictures. In my basket, I had flour, cling film, some foil, newspapers, some band-aids, bandages, balloons, flour, more flour, and, of course, some cigarettes. You know, your average weekly shop. On my way back, I drove by a paintball place and decided to get a last-minute smoke grenades. You know, as one does. My friend Ben had a rope, and I asked him if he could lend it to me and if he could do one of those nuts, like the ones that you see on the Hangman's Gallows on the movies. The day that I had everything together to take the self-portraits, I finally arrived. I felt like I was in this trance. I picked some clothes that depicted exactly how I felt, and I left to the woods behind one of the dorms on campus with my friend Ben. I had previously talked to security, telling them that I was doing a photography project and that I was using smoke grenades for one of my pictures. I have to admit, I look pretty suspicious, nonetheless sketchy. I mean, nobody really wants to try to explain to a cop why they have cling wrap, the news, and the smoke grenades. Anyway, security sent an email to the whole campus, the whole community, and I thought that was it. However, while I was taking the pictures, a photographer showed up and asked what I was doing with the smoke grenades and if he could watch. At the end of the shoot, he went back to his car and picked up a camera, a very nice camera. He gave it to me and said something along the lines, "Here, take this. This camera is my favorite. I think you could give it a good use for your project. I'll find you again at some point. Good luck. Good luck." And then he left. Poof, he didn't even tell me his name. The second time I went to take the self-portraits, I did so with another two friends, Wild and Olivia, taking with us everything I had picked up at the store. Once again, I felt like I was in this trance. There was something inside of me that felt in control. It was as if my inner self was expressing itself via the actions of my body. It was me, but at the same time it wasn't. It was very powerful and weird. I remember feeling that I remember taking the props out of the bag and planning the shots on the spot. All those drawings that I made were really, really helpful. However, none of them ended up in the project. While and Olivia were my second and third pair of hands when I needed them the most. I would ask them to do multiple things that needed to be done at once, or to throw things at me. I mean, it was cathartic for everybody. I would explain to them the shots that I wanted, the angles, and what I was looking for in each picture. And then they would help me with the final action of pressing the shutter release button. The whole experience was very, very liberating. I have 1,000 pictures of myself naked in my friend's bathtub and thousands of other shots. For once in my life, I was and I felt in full control. I was in the driver's seat and my mind was going 100 miles per hour. While the whole process of taking and editing the pictures was very intense and therapeutic, I felt that something was missing, something to bring the project to life. I remember feeling that I couldn't hold these feelings within me any longer and that I needed to break free from my chains. So on May 3rd, 2016, I gathered the courage to post these pictures on my social media. The reaction was not what I expected. Strangers and people that I didn't know reacted to my posts. Friends and people that I didn't know suffer from depression and anxiety were sharing their journeys with me. Even some family members were sharing their experiences too. I discovered I was not alone. I never was. It was extremely powerful and liberating. Something important resulting from that post on Facebook. I had started a conversation by being radically honest. A conversation that for me had always been difficult to start because I didn't have the words to express how I felt. Now, I had thousands of words and I was completely silent. My grandparents called me and asked me about it. We all cried. My parents started talking to me about it and now they fully understand what I suffer. I materialized my fears, my demons, and embraced them. Embraced them in a way that I was not only making changes to myself but to the people around me. I used my photography to alleviate my suffering and to cope with my depression. However, it wasn't only for me. There are many folks that have sent me their messages with the journeys because of the depression or anxiety or bipolar disorder or any other mental health issue. They have thanked me for sharing my journey and for allowing them to partake in it. For them, this has also been a way to materialize their fears and face them. While depression and anxiety are something that perhaps I have to live with for the rest of my life, it doesn't mean that I have to live under its rules. Sometimes it can be difficult to describe in words how one feels. For some emotions, it's actually impossible to do so. However, photography broke that barrier for me and allowed me to pour my emotions onto the world. I used photography and turned my depression into something palpable, something physical, something that I was able to acknowledge and face. Photography changed the concept that I have of depression into something new, something healthy. For me, my depression and my feelings are not a taboo anymore. By doing this project, I was able to break free from my chains, and that bottomless pit I once thought I was falling into, it is not really bottomless, and it definitely doesn't feel like a pit anymore. It is more like a very bad pothole, like the ones that you drive over and leave you be concerned about your car. Photography saved my life. And talking about my issues saved my life. Now, I know that being depressed is okay, that being sad is okay, and that, as with the cold, I sometimes need medicine to help resolve it or to keep it at bay. For me, open conversation about my feelings is my medicine. Photography is my medicine. For others, it might be therapy or yoga or meditation. The point is that there will always be something that can help you cope with your feelings and your issues in a healthy way. For me, I was lucky enough that I found my coping mechanism, and now I'm able to say that my depression is like a beautiful wild cat. After many years of being lost, now I know I'm not alone, even though sometimes it still feels like I am. There are many people out there like you and me that suffer the same as I do every day. Knowing that we're not alone makes a big difference. I know people say this a lot, but I say it because I've been through it. It does get better. Having friends that were willing to throw things at me or to letting me take naked selfies in the bathtub make a big difference. I was just too blind then to realize that they did. Talking, getting out, finding that thing that can help you get up in the morning are some of the things that you can start doing to break those chains. Find what works for you and apply it to your day-to-day life. For me, it was communicating through photography. For others, maybe communicating through therapy. The point is that you need to find your voice. Don't give up and keep fighting. There are a lot of us on your side. Thank you.